last Sunday's Elimination Chamber pay-per-view event, I was pulling for Chris Jericho to emerge victorious in the Elimination Chamber match to go on to face Dolph Ziggler for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 29. Now, Dolph Ziggler in that scenario would have cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase earlier on in the evening, therefore getting Jericho versus Ziggler for the World Championship at WrestleMania 29. In my personal opinion, I thought that would have made perfect sense after Jericho defeated Ziggler at last year's SummerSlam pay-per-view. Next night on Raw, Ziggler defeated Jericho to end Jericho's career for a brief bit before Jericho just returned to the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. They went about 50 minutes in that match. They had an altercation the next night on Raw. It would have been perfect. By this point, I don't even know if we're getting that match at Mania, but instead on Sunday, we had Jack Swagger emerging victorious inside the chamber. Now he's going to be facing Alberto Del Rio for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 29. Now, me personally, I have mixed feelings towards that. I'm not a huge fan of Jack Swagger, but I am glad that he's back. I'm liking his new theme song, the renaming of his finisher, the new manager and Zeb Coulter that he has. He really desperately needed a mouthpiece, so I'm glad that he finally has one that has excellent mic work. So I'm happy about that. But pushing Jack Swagger back into the spotlight so quickly, not too sure about that. If you can recall, it was 3 years ago when he was kind of slowly rising up the card in ECW. He had a tremendous potential. He called himself the next prodigy of the WWE before subsequently winning the ECW championship. Kind of things went downhill when he was moved to Raw in late 2009. Went on a lengthy losing streak, including losing to Santino Marella on WWE Superstars. And then a few short months later, he won the Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania 26. He would go on to cash in that briefcase mere days later and become the World Heavyweight Champion in what was one of the most disappointing and lackluster World Heavyweight Championship reigns in recent memory. He lost almost every single match that he competed in, lost the championship about 2 months later in a fatal four-way, lost the rematch clause, and was never used in the main event picture ever again. So with that being said, I do think Jack Swagger has tremendous potential. I'm glad to see him being pushed. And I did want to see Del Rio versus Swagger at WrestleMania 29. Just not over the World Heavyweight Championship. I think it's a bit rushed. We can get still that match, but it's just not World Heavyweight Championship worthy. By this point, we don't have many top matches at WrestleMania 29 this year. Last year, I was fine with Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan being over the World Championship, despite the fact it was only 18 seconds, but it wasn't a marquee matchup where people would see, I really want to buy WrestleMania to do that match. It was maybe fourth on the card behind Jericho, Punk, Taker, Triple H, and Rock versus Cena. At this point, all we know for WrestleMania is that we have John Cena versus The Rock for the WWE Championship. That's it. CM Punk versus Taker has yet to be confirmed. Taker we don't even know if he's coming back at all yet. Brock Lesnar versus Triple H, that might be confirmed next week, but even still, that's not a match that many people want to see. Jack Swagger versus Del Rio has never been done before in singles action, so I'm excited about that. The match could be great, and the feud itself could be great with the anti-American thing, and American versus Mexican feud. I mean, I think they can build off that without, if they're not going crazy overboard with it as they've done in the past with certain things, but hopefully not, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I think it could be a good feud if they continue to build up Jack Swagger. And my only complaint about that feud is the fact that Jack Swagger did not have enough heat yet. The guy just came back 2 weeks ago from a 5-month absence from television, and granted the fact that he gets excellent heat now with Zeb Coulter, that's due to Zeb Coulter's mic work. If Zeb Coulter wasn't here, then Jack Swagger would be completely irrelevant and would not get any heat whatsoever. So I'm glad that he's slowly being rebuilt up. But the key word there is slowly. If he's going to go for the World Heavyweight Championship, I'd rather see that at maybe SummerSlam at the earliest, not so much at WrestleMania. Del Rio versus Swagger is not a match that many people would say, or many casual fans, I would say, oh, yep, that's a match. That's a reason why I'm buying WrestleMania. That looks like a fantastic match. I'm buying that. Again, Del Rio is just slowly getting over as a face. He's not the best face in the world, but he's slowly getting over, and I'm enjoying the push. Same thing with Swagger. I'm enjoying what work he's done over the last 2-3 weeks. But again, both guys are not ready to be involved in a World Championship match at WrestleMania. Jericho versus Ziggler on paper is a much, much more attractive and appealing matchup that people would buy into and would buy WrestleMania for, aside from, Rock versus Cena and all the other marquee matchups. But then going into Monday's Raw, Zeb Coulter and Jack Swagger held a State of the Union address, and I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I thought it garnered major heat from the live crowd on Monday Night Raw. And then the next night on Infowars.com, I believe, they were criticizing Swagger's new gimmick, calling WWE racist, WWE even as far as to provide a public statement to those websites criticizing Swagger and Zeb Coulter's comments from Raw this past week, saying that they're not the political views of WWE. And I can understand why Swagger and Zeb Coulter are doing this. It's to garner heat. That's what heels do. They've done much worse things in the past with the JBL Nutty Guerrero thing when JBL went to the Mexican border back in maybe 04, 05, or it was in 04, I believe, when they were feuding over the title. That was hilarious, but I mean, it's not. In today's society, that was what 9 years ago. Society is much more sensitive than it was back then. So I can see why stuff like this, Jack Swagger and what Zeb Coulter is saying, is attracting more attention from the media, which I think is maybe a good thing. Bad publicity is good publicity, I guess. But as long as they don't go borderline racist with this stuff, and I think what they said on Raw was fine, but as long as they don't go overboard with it, I'm fine. And that leads into the next event. So on Tuesday night, following the SmackDown taping, apparently, this is just breaking news, just broke about 10 minutes ago on TMZ.com. It stated that Jack Swagger was involved in a, not car accident, but he was arrested for crazy driving last night in Minneapolis, or Mississippi, or whatever it was, for crazy driving. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to reflect on the WWE. This is the same guy that's going to be contending for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. Not sure how fast they can pull the plug on that feud since they already started promoting it on this week's Raw, Elimination Chamber, etc. So I'm not sure if they're going to be pulling the plug on Jack Swagger just yet, but once again, to be involved in the news just a day after being involved in the news for his racist remarks, I should say, they weren't that bad, just the media just completely overblew the situation, but then to be involved in the media for the next day, involving in crazy driving, which is something that, is bad, not as bad as the racist remarks I can live with, that's fine, but the crazy driving thing, that's a little bit worse. That's something that could garner bad media attention for WWE, and specifically Jack Swagger, a guy that just came back 2-3 weeks ago, is already in a bad light in the media, and will be headlining WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship. Again, Dario versus Swagger is not a feud that I want to see anyway, so if they pull the plug on it, I'm completely okay with that personally, but I don't think they will do that since they've already started promoting it. We're only a week into the road to WrestleMania, so I'm fine with it. If they did pull the plug on it, I can see how they could. But again, I don't think they'll go as far as to de-push Jack Swagger so quickly after pushing him 48 hours before the entire event occurred. So once again, I'm not a huge supporter of Jack Swagger. I don't hate him either. I'm just okay with him. But I am enjoying his push. I'm enjoying his new look, his whole new repackaging, but not sure how long that's going to last given his recent rest. It's just going to reflect badly in WWE and on Jack Swagger, which is something that shouldn't be happening going to WrestleMania 29. So that's my 2 cents on that. Hopefully the whole situation gets resolved. I would hate to see Jack Swagger de-pushed at this point, but I mean, is it likely? There's a chance, but I just don't see it happening with WrestleMania 6 weeks away. And him already having won the Elimination Chamber. If they switch gears and put Ziggler and Jericho in there, I would love to see that, but it wouldn't make as much sense at this point. But only time will tell as to see what they do with Swagger. More than likely, they'll just brush it off. And they've done that many times in the past with many of their talents once they get involved in this kind of stupid shit when they're in driving accidents and stuff like that. That was their fault. Usually they're not de-pushed because of it, or hopefully not, but we'll see in coming weeks and whatnot how this reflects on Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter. Hopefully it doesn't at this point, but only time will tell as far as that goes. But make sure to drop your thoughts in the situation in the comment section below. Make sure to drop a like. Make sure to subscribe as well. Really do appreciate it. You should continue the conversation with me on Twitter at @SAVE_GSM. You should keep your eyes open for Jack Swagger in coming weeks. See what happens with him and Zeb Coulter and their gimmick in the World Championship match going to WrestleMania 29. This is GSM. Signing out. Till next time, guys. Also, just a brief update. I just found out while I was processing this video that further details in the case involving Jack Swagger's arrest include the fact that he had marijuana in his car when he was arrested for a DUI. So you can pretty much expect him to be off the WrestleMania card. Jack Swagger is a fucking idiot for getting himself suspended this close to WrestleMania. Whether it's unintentional or intentional or whatever, he's an idiot. He just got himself pretty much suspended right before WrestleMania. Will he be suspended? I don't know. I'm just jumping to conclusions here, but I'm just saying. From what I've been reading, or just read 10 seconds ago, that's what's happened. So, yeah, you can pretty much expect for him to suffer the consequences next week. So if you see him jobbing on the pre-show for WrestleMania, do not be surprised. So once again, this is GSM. Signing out. Good night, guys.